Look at the little baby ducks. Look at them. I'm gonna follow them as they go into the water. Look at them go. They're so cute. They're so cuties. Bang boom. Who is at the start of this video? It's this cat named Boo. He is a beautiful boy, and he is my current foster cat. He's so beautiful. He's so beautiful. He's so beautiful. You're probably like, whoa, what is this video about? He's just petting a cat. And I didn't read the subtitles, or whatever title I said. I could say this video has no title. Wouldn't that be cool? Hey, this video has no title. Although, if I say that, that is in fact a title. The phrase, this has no title, is the title of the video. So, blah, not doing that. But this is time. We are nearing the most important month of the year. A time in which all things are aligned to be exactly like my life. And that is GarbAugust. Now, GarbAugust is not here yet. This is still, the month of July. But I always like to do, one of my favorite things every year is to do a kind of taste test for a variety of books to see what books will make my GarbAugust TBR. You know, I own a lot of trash. Not everything can make it. A lot of things that I will grab and intend to read during GarbAugust sometimes is really, really bad. There is nothing better for my bookshelves than GarbAugust because, believe me, as soon as I read like 5 of these pages, I'm like, oh, I can get rid of this, this, and this. So yeah, this is the pile of books that I'm going to read either the first chapter or the first little bit of to just see if there's like any value in these to read during GarbAugust. And I will kind of give you a little bit of a preview and I'll let you know what I thought about the bits that I read as we go on. So yeah, let us begin. Starting off with this one, easy DNF and get rid of. This is just a price guide. There's no photos. I thought there would be photos to go on with whatever they got. I don't need to know what the 1984 cost of a Star Wars figure was if there's no photo attached of the figure. Obviously, just wanted it for the photos of the figures and stuff. I can now see why this was in the 25-cent bin. My fault. I should have looked to see if there was actual pictures, but no, it's just prices. Bleh. Boop, boop, already some updates. This might be a very quick video because, there's not a lot of winners so far. So first up, so this is not a bad book. So this I got from a Little Free Library. This is a Squirrel Girl novel, and Squirrel Girl is a Marvel character, and I do quite enjoy some of her comics. There's like Ryan North had a really great run on the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl in comic format. This is a novel. This is just geared at very, very young kids, and I'm just going to put it back in a Little Free Library so a kid can get it. It's not a terrible book by any means, just very much not in my vein of reading, and definitely outside of my age range. Not that I can't enjoy books that are aimed at kids, but, this just wasn't really hitting me, and so I'm definitely going to give it to a Little Free Library that can use it better. This book, Barking Dogs by Terrence M. Green. Now, I only bought this because this is Crime is Crippling Toronto. One cop has the technology to cure it. Taking place in 1999, which is just prime GarbAugust territory. The problem is this book has terrible writing and is real boring. And, the big thing about this book is that there's a thing called Barking Dogs, which is an infallible lie detector. And it's so boring. This is, sold as, a RoboCopy thing. But all that's different is that people have stupid lie detectors. And, the book starts with this chapter about frickin' the Pope. The first American Pope, which is funny now that in 2025 or 2025, we did get our actual first American Pope. So, wow. We'll have to look that up. If I didn't, I'll just say, whoops, I don't know shit about popes. But yeah, it's just him, talking about, what his views on sexuality is and the church's views on sexuality, but didn't really say anything. It was just, people talking at a news conference, and it was like,
It appears that my barking dog is telling me that the Pope is full of shit. He don't know what he's talking about for sure.
And I'm like, okay, interesting. And then I kind of skipped ahead in the book to see if there's any cool sounding things, and no, no, there wasn't. So that one was a going. Actually, I'm gonna trade that in. I paid for this one. I'm gonna get some freaking. I'm gonna get like $2 for this because I earned them $2. And then I started to read this 2000 AD Durham Red, The Unquiet Grave. Now, this is something that I've never like heard of this character at all, other than like I have another one of the books that are like of this Durham Red series. But 2000 AD is a British comic book line that most famous for bringing us Judge Dredd. And I have read a few Judge Dredd novels and actually quite enjoyed it. This is a Black Flame book, and if you know anything about Black Flame was a subsection of Warhammer, like Games Workshop's internal library system that they have, the Black Library, where they post and create, Warhammer 40,000 novels and also Warhammer fantasy novels. There was a brief spinoff in the early 2000s, which was called Black Flame, that had a whole bunch of horror novels attached to it. So that is where you get those impossibly priced, Freddy and Jason books from that era that go for crazy prices online. A lot of novelizations that are really hard to find because there weren't a lot of Black Flame books published. And another one of the things that Black Flame published as well was a bunch of 2000 AD books. Now, most of these you can actually still find because they have been archived, because I believe the rights are just way easier to untangle. But still, any Black Flame book, there weren't a lot of those made. So, gotta hold on to those when you find them. But yeah, I've never heard of this character. Apparently it's like a vampire, bounty hunter-esque girl. And she had like a really cool like introduction in like the talking about what her character is. And literally the first sentence got me. The first sentence, I was like, I'm gonna read this book.
Judas Harrow was late arriving at the Chamber of Sensation. By the time he got there, the orgy was already in full swing.
And I'm like, hell yeah, we're starting with an orgy. First sentence, an orgy is happening? Well, technically second sentence. Well, I mean, say a Chamber of Sensation. Anyways, second sentence, we know an orgy is happening. And yeah, any book where the second sentence is the orgy is going on, I'm like, well, I gotta read it. I am gonna probably read like a little bit more of this just to make sure that it's not like an offensive orgy. And as long as it isn't, I will definitely be reading this. If, in the next few pages, there's something that makes me go, oh noes, then yeah, I will definitely DNF this one. But if I don't have another update on that, I've deemed it acceptable. I have another winner for the GarbAugust pile. This is Peter Benchley's Creature. Now, Peter Benchley, of course, wrote the book Jaws, which has made a much far superior movie version of Jaws. Jaws, the book, is not a great book. I do enjoy it just because I'm sad, friend Brody. I'm sad, friend Cheryl Brody. I'm sad. And then it's got stupid like, I'm sexy marine biologist Hooper, and I'm gonna bone your wife. And it's so ridiculous. Like, Peter Benchley's Jaws the book is not good, but it's really fun and it's hilarious to read, especially if you're very familiar with the movie and you're like, wow, they saved this movie a lot by not doing a very accurate book adaptation. But I must admit, reading the first chapter of Peter Benchley's Creature, now this one is supposed to be like a weird like shark man is like terrorizing the world, and it starts in 1945 Germany, and it's like this evil German doctor who's like trying to escape from war-torn Germany. And yeah, it was just really captivating, really well written in a way that like you were instantly like, this is gonna be a fun pulp novel. It's an evil German Nazi scientist who's trying to escape Germany near the end of the war because he's got one last mission from Hitler. And of course, I'm going to imagine it's because he's going to build Sharkman. And yeah, I'm down. I want to read about Sharkman, so obviously I'm going to read this. Let's take a break because Loomis is meowing a bunch, and we must entertain the cat. Loomis, come here. Come here. Come here. Hello. What is wrong? Why are you meowing? What do you want? What do you want, bud? You want to play? Or you just want to be like admired? He's like, yes, worship me. I know some people just like you, Loomis. Oh, look, it's Claude. Claude, what's up, bro? What? That's a controversial opinion. I can't believe you just said that online. Wow. You think you know a cat? All right. I'll go find something to entertain them for a while and get them all out of interrupting modes. Come on, put your back into it, man. You gotta, work. Oh no, you tore it off. You're a murderer. Loomis, you're a murderer. You're a murderer. Freaking Loomis is up here. And whenever Loomis goes to a place that's higher than Claude can reach, Claude just meows and meows because he wants to go up there. He's like, I cannot get up there. Although he can. Look at your little kitty legs. You're not that heavy. You could definitely get there. If Loomis could get up there, you could get up there. I know. He's looking there. He's like, I want to go up there. I also want to be up there, Father. Father, please. Bring me to places I've not been. Fired his lasers. I guess as long as Loomis is being quiet and evil, not evil up here. I had to move my King Kong 1976 Jim Beam bottle because it's one of the most important collectibles I own, and this motherfucker would have probably knocked it over. Update. Kitty update. So, we have some more winners and one book that I'm just not going to read. First up, one that I'm definitely going to read this year. Communion, A True Story by Whitley Strieber. Now, this is, of course, Whitley Strieber's so-called true experience of being abducted by aliens. And I read the first, interlude, kind of like a prologue for this, and I was like, hell yeah. Talking about goblins and extraterrestrial beings. And it's like, do I believe any of this? Probably not. Probably I do not. But I haven't read it yet. But I'm a skeptic. But I do also think that it's way more fun to just go in this and be like, yeah, what if all this did happen? What if this crazy looking alien was just hanging out and being cool? I'd be totally down for that. Of course I'm reading this. And I'm going to read it with an open mind. And that mind being, I don't think this happened, but it's more fun if I think it did. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I picked up one of these Harlequin intrigue books, Fright Night. And look at how freaking Halloween-y this is. Now, I know I should probably save this for something like Halloween-a-thon, but I would really just be in the mood to really revel in some Halloween atmosphere as a Harlequin intrigue book. Now, this was written in 1993, and listen to this prologue. Oh, it's so beautiful. It was a cold, silent night in late October. Hidden deep in the shadows of a huge oak tree, a man with a haggard face and wild blue eyes stood looking out across the open meadow in front of him. By the dim light of a yellowish crescent moon, the rows and rows of cheap white grave markers seemed to hem a sad, forbidden forest. Potter's Field, last stop for the indigent, blah, 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 blah. Although this place was like a final kick in the face by a cruel, unfair world, it has been his home for a long time now, and in a strange way he was reluctant to leave. But leave he must, for he was a man with a mission. The wind picked up as he left the shelter of the big oak, sending the fallen leaves swirling around his feet. With each stride he could feel the hot blood pumping through his veins. He ran deeper into the chill black night, driven onward by the need within him. This body was strong and hard, such a change from the pathetic hulk that lay buried in that poor plot of earth beneath him. It would serve him well for the task ahead. Someone must pay. They all must pay. Hell yes, I'm reading this book. That is the dopest thing I've ever read. Bagonklers. This was just some boring kids novel from the 1950s and was not that interesting at all. But hey, it kind of looks cool. But yeah, I ain't reading that. Okay, it looks like I'm going to have to read the rest of these books while I'm sitting on the floor over here. Anyways, minor update. I did make myself supper and all that jazz. I did read a little bit of Mages and Monsters, which is this anti-D&D novel, because Dungeons and Dragons kind of got wrapped up in the satanic panic craze of the 1980s. And yes, this is suitably ridiculous right off of the bat. So yes, it is going to make it with communion for my trashy... well, actually, I don't think this one's nonfiction. Yeah, okay, so this one's not nonfiction. It's based off of a supposedly real case, and there was a movie, a TV movie made in 1982, which does feature a very young Tom Hanks. Anyways, that's amazing. So yeah, this is all about a supposedly real case that, a kid got too involved in Dungeons and Dragons and it destroyed his life before it's an evil game. And yeah, I cannot wait to read this. It sounds super silly. Then I read a few pages of this. Apparently it's the third book in a series, but I ain't gonna read any of them because it has too many dumb fantasy names. There is no rhyme or reason as to when I will accept a fantasy name or when I will think it's too stupid and stop reading. It is impossible for me to properly articulate what it is. But yes, this one does not pass the, actually good fantasy names. And also the writing was bad, so whatevs. Licked the Little Free Library that you're going back to, bitch. Ba-da-boop, ba-da-boop. Yes, Loomis did instantly come off the chair to just hang out with me as soon as I sat on the floor to, avoid interrupting him on the chair. But hey, that's cats for you. But he's just hanging out. He will actually be more annoying if I go back on the chair, so I'm just going to stay on the ground and finish this vlog. So, I did get some starting out stories that were good and bad. First off, I've never read a Bentley Little book, but let me tell you, when the first, 5 pages is all about some grown-ass man getting it over on them skateboarding youths, I couldn't care less. He's like, yeah, what do I do about these skateboarders who are abusing our property? I'm going to spray them with the hose. And I'm like, I do not care, Bentley Little. I do not care. This is a Richard Lehman book. Now, it was very funny. The story behind this is I got this from my local cat rescue. They have a garage sale online. And I had to send Fizgig, then Simba, to get his checkup. So they basically, I handed Fizgig off to go to the vet, and they handed me a copy of Richard Lehman. And that's when I knew it would have to be Kelsey from Simon Slasher's Cat, because what other cat is going to be exchanged for a Richard Lehman book? So yes, that's kind of where the story of this is. I meant to read this during June. I just did not get to it. I have been very bad at filling any of my frickin' TBRs. I'm kind of glad I didn't though, because I read the first few pages and I was like, oh goodness, it's just a very typical Laban smut scene, and I'm just like, I'm good. It's not that interesting to start the book out, but I'm sure Kelsey will love it. She is a big Richard Lehman fan, and I do actually am going to read a Richard Lehman book for, this reading event of GarbAugust, but it's going to be Blood Games, because I started reading this and I was like, oh, this is interesting. It's setting up a plot that I'm intrigued to see where it goes. And yeah, I'm just immediately kind of captured by the plot and the writing and the way that the girls are getting along in the book, and it just really made me go oh, I want to read this. This sounds fun. So yeah, this one was more fun to me. This read to me like more typical Lamey stuff, so not that, some people love the Richard Lehman, other people are not always a fan of the Richard Lehman, but this one kind of reminded me of the one Richard Lehman that I really did like, which is Flesh. Anyways, that's a weird one to say, because it does have plenty of the others. Then I read a snippet from this book, Roller Coaster. Now, I didn't realize this was a novelization of a film, so that's fun already. Already I'm down, because it's a novelization. And even better, it is a crazily overwritten, overwrought novelization. And, oh my god, you gotta hear some of the descriptions in this.
The usual scatter of all-night lovers had already been rooted by the stab of sun life, as cruelly efficient as a cattle prod, yanking them out of their blissful brows and sending them back to the human herd. Like, oh my god. Like, it's so over the top, and it's really, really fun. I love how overwritten it is. The air was still cool and damp, but with a hint of warmth and a whiff of sea rot around the edges, like a shrimp cocktail that's been sitting out too long. I'm like, oh my god, there's so many like little pieces. Like, this is a perfect GarbAugust book because that is so overwrought and so overwritten. I cannot wait to get to that. This one just had a really good setup for the central, mystery, and it's a Cozy Cat mystery, and I do always like to read a Cozy Cat mystery during GarbAugust. I hadn't really heard anything about this, and I wasn't sure about this one, but yeah, reading it, I was like, oh yeah, no, obviously a really good setup, and I'm intrigued. Same one with this, Brother Termite. Now, I've heard about this book from Coffee Cats and King as a cat walks by, and he said it was a really good and satisfying book, and it has a really fun starting to the story, and I was immediately hooked, and I was immediately liking the way that the author was, writing out the scenes as they were happening. I was compelled and interested, and the way that it was describing small little scenes, I was like, oh yeah, no, the details are rich, and I'm intrigued with the writing style, so I would definitely be reading this one too. The plot about this is that there is a chief of staff on the president's current what do they call it? I guess the staff? Yeah. So he's the chief of staff on the president's current staff, whatever. I don't know anything about American politics. It's all bad. But anyways, he's an alien. So they didn't get to the reveal of him being an alien, but the way he was just like describing the world, I was instantly hooked and interested. So definitely going to read that one as well.
Sorry, the horror poet laureate. More like the horror poet, get out of here, bitch.
Okay, so final update. I did finish the last batch of books that I had before me. The only one that I outright just dismissed and was not that interested in was Piers Anthony Kilobyte. It's just, I don't know, something about the writing. I don't know. It doesn't seem that interesting. I thought it'd be like a fun, like a guy in a video game type thing. And I think it's kind of like that, but it's, I don't know. I've never read any Piers Anthony, so I don't know if maybe I would like some other books that he's written, but this one, just for whatever reason, was not hooking me. The biggest surprise of the bunch is definitely this Edward Lee book. I thought I was definitely going to DNF this, but I actually had to pull myself away from this to remind myself to read it and start talk about other things, because I would have just continued reading the whole book, because it was really kind of captivating and strange. Read way more of this than I have for any other books in this so far. Basically, this postman gets a mysterious package and he becomes like a crazed murderer, and it was just really interestingly written. Now, I know Edward Lee does not have a good people do not like Edward Lee, and he's not very highly regarded in the horror sphere. I have never read any of his books, but I will actually read this, because I was just really kind of compelled and interested, and I wanted to see where the heck this book goes. And it's got a Richie Lehman recommendation. Suicide Squad, which is a terrible movie. This is a novelization of the terrible Suicide Squad movie. But I was kind of fascinated by this because it's written by Marv Wolfman. Now, Marv Wolfman is a very competent comic book writer. And reading the first few pages of this, I was like, oh yeah, no, this is Marv Wolfman. He knows how to write a story. And it's compelling and is already more interesting than the book. And so the film that this book is based off of. And I was just kind of surprised. I was like, oh, interesting. How will this be? Because that is one of the movies that I despise. I despise the Suicide Squad movie. But Marv Wolfman is a writer that I do very much enjoy. Boo, where you going? He doesn't want to hang out. So I thought it would be really interesting to read a book that is a novelization of a movie I hate, but by a writer who I have liked in the past. So this is definitely willing to be experimented on. The only thing that kind of sucks is how big this book is. Like, why? Why is the novelization for frickin' the Suicide Squad movie this many pages? They do this all the time, though, in modern novelizations. They go too far. This is a kind of like a silly, over-the-top murder mystery. Only read the first few pages that set it up, and it was immediately captivating, and the next sentence after the setup was a very funny sentence that I was immediately interested in. So if you make me laugh in the first few pages, I'm definitely going to read you and give you a better shot. Same with this one, The Holiday Honeymoon Switch. Just had a really kind of charming overview of its characters and just setting up this best friendship between these two characters who look very similar, so they do a kind of switch for their Christmassy things. What's up, Blue, Mrs. Friend Boo? Boo, what's up, bro? Yeah, so I just thought this had a charming nature to it. This is another one that I found in a little free library, and I'm glad I did. It just seems like a fun little Christmas story. Now, of course, like, I have a Christmas book and a Halloween book in here. Those will probably be not the books that I will prioritize because they're probably better to read during the actual season that they're set in. But if I do get through my other books in my GarbAugust pile, I definitely will read this. Unnatural Talent. Now, I had not read any Dark Forces book. Dark Forces is a kind of like a YA series from the 90s. I believe it's the 90s, or is it the 80s? What era is it? I must read. Oh, no. It's from the 80s, so this is 1983. So, yeah, this is even earlier than I thought. And, yeah, it was just this really well-written setup of this guy who has recently moved into a small town because his father wants him to be a basketball star. And he's kind of, like, has this local crush. And, you know, it just had a fun setup. And you could just tell that the writing was solid enough that, you know, it was going to be a compelling novel. And, you know, even though the scene was not super interesting on its own, the fact that I was still intrigued about a character just, you know, taking things out of their locker and meeting with a girl they had a crush on before even any of the horror elements came up, I think kind of symbolized that this would be definitely worth checking out and reading. This one that I thought was just going to be a throwaway, which is Roughing It Easy, which is a book about camping. Immediately when I was like going through it, was I Boo? I immediately learned a new type of creating fire for cooking, and I had never thought about it before. Like it talked about, you know how when you build a campfire, you should build a keyhole fire, where you basically like, you know, using rocks to make the what do you call it? Like the, you know, the campfire, you put a border around it with rocks so that it doesn't all, like, the fire doesn't spread, and you have, like, the main batch of the fire here, and then you have, like, a keyhole that's just, like, a little thing here, and basically what it's saying is, like, you can start the fire goes here, and then you take the hot coals from the fire and put that in your keyhole, and you use that to cook your food. And I was like, oh, that's actually, you know, that's really smart. I don't think I ever would have thought about that on my own. Just because, you know, we have modern conveniences, but I do like camping. I don't do it often, but, you know, it might actually be a pretty interesting and compelling book. So, yeah, I'm definitely interested in Roughing It Easy. So, yeah, actually, if you compare this to prior years, like, there are a lot more books that I chose from this batch that I will actually be reading for GarbAugust. So much so that I think like I already have like a good chunk of my TBR for the month set, which is funny because like prior years that I've done this, there have been so many DNFs that I just get rid of immediately. And a lot of these books I'm not going to keep. Like once I read Mazes of Monsters once, I'm going to like, you know, get rid of it. But the fact that I'm still interested in reading it and not instantly DNFing it does, you know, kind of bode well for this GarbAugust this year because, yeah, maybe I'm just out of habit from learning when to DNF and when a book is going to be terrible. But for all these books that I've been trying out during this vlog and being good enough to want to read during GarbAugust, that's pretty good. And I'm only really getting rid of a few. So yeah, honestly, pretty successful little vlog. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Goodbye.